Hi, everyone. Today, I want to talk about a bit more of an arcane topic in client data or just data in general with respect to Stormgate. But before we get into this, I would like to remind you all that I stream on Monday, EPT North America, about 7 p.m., 7:30 Eastern. Every Saturday, EPT Korea, 11 p.m. Eastern. And every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, around 8 p.m. for WTL VODs at a more North American-friendly time audience. I'm casting them live, but the games do happen in the morning and other things as they happen. But now let's talk about data in RTS and why, well, Starcraft doesn't really cut it, but we can learn a lot from other esports titles and see what we need to see from Stormgate. One of the most under-discussed components of modern esports is the amount of data exposed to users, whether those users are tournament organizers, broadcasters, casters, developers, or really just casual fans. Starcraft technically did this. You can get the names of players, who wins each game, and the game clock from the client-side API, and some macro-level information from the latter API as well. This seems great, right? Not really, at least not from the perspective of modern games. Take Dota, for example. They have entire websites, say Dota Buff, dedicated to the depth of data exposed by the game API. Match results, stats on individual player results, hero win rates, item-specific win rates, by timestamp. Certain items maybe have a higher win rate if they're bought after 50 minutes, and that maybe not the most useful information, but it is interesting. And the list goes on. Tons of information. Of course, some of this is due to the type of game. A MOBA is a much more complex game. Dota, for example, has 123 heroes, 208 items. That's an insane amount of potential combinations and permutations. In contrast, in StarCraft, for example, the Terran race has 18 units and 17 buildings, and some of those are kind of subsets of each other, Hellions and Hellbats, for example, which means that there's less information from that perspective, but still, this information does need to be provided. Dota is not the only sport, by the way, that has this glorious depth of data that you can sink your teeth into. Love 'em or hate 'em, Riot exposes a similar depth of information in their marquee titles. Just look at this third-party website, this dashboard for Valorant. You get ADR, average damage per round, stats on preferred agents, guns, map stats, and more. I mean, there actually is some information that they don't necessarily provide, say, win rate on A side versus B side or something like that, which would be interesting. But anyways, that's a lot of information that is exposed and accessible in a really attractive way to the average user. But if we're going to put this in the context of an RTS, because we've talked about MOBAs and shooters for the moment, imagine the possibilities. I've been on the crusade for a specific map pick and ban stats per matchup, or maybe even for opponent for a while, because I think that's something that would be incredibly interesting from an esports perspective. Imagine, say, we have Mario versus Rainer. It's grand finals, or not grand finals because there are no bans. See my other video. But it's the semifinals. And you pull this up and you say, okay, Mario in best of fives in TVZ, he bans Stargazers 30% of the time. But against Rainer, he bans it 70% of the time. For whatever reason, that's a storyline. That's something we can talk about. Or just, hey, Mario banned this map and you normally wouldn't. That's interesting. Now, the downside of this maybe is it might make the power or the research available to players maybe a little bit too strong. But honestly, if you look for it, this information can be figured out anyways. This is just a little bit easier, a little bit more accessible. But imagine going deeper than that. Automatically compiling matchup-specific win rates by game time. So, say, Infernals have a plus 3% win rate over humans after 10 minutes. I don't know. The number of units made, or some other stat that really hasn't been figured out yet. We're starting to see, Light provides a lot of interesting things, but those stats are not developer-specific. Those are things that SC2 Gears, the original developer, figured out and put into the game. So, yeah, some of this is already done by Light now. But, again, that's also only on the replays that you personally have access to, or that you upload to something like SC2 replay stats. I want this to be system-wide, something that is automatically populated by Frost Giant servers and searchable by anyone with access. Imagine saying, well, I want the information that says, oh, in Gold League, thralls are, this percentage better at this game time, but when we get to Grandmaster, it's actually the other way around. And more, of course, more useful information like that. Yeah, like, wow, a user who makes more than 100 Banelings in a Silver League match wins 80% of the time, but, maybe less so in a Grandmaster game, as an example. And yes, this information absolutely will lead to some more ammunition for balance winding. Infernals have a 55% win rate after 10 minutes. Late game thralls are broken. But you and I know that was going to happen anyways, especially by whatever faction the majority of Terran players transition onto in Stormgate. You know how it goes. You've seen the forums. Well, the majority of what I have been talking about is Frost Giant server side, powering the next generation esports and broadcast analytics. That really is only half of the puzzle. As I mentioned earlier, we really only get the bare bones informations out of the Starcraft client. The documentation how to about even read that information is buried in a deleted Blizzard forum post. That's from a long time ago. Pulling from DOTA once again, because again, I believe that DOTA has one of the most powerful broadcast setups really available in esports. They expose a lot more to the client-side API. Of course, this could be dangerous. Information that is exposed locally about a specific game in real time provides some opportunity for different hacks to exist if done poorly. Map hacks, not necessarily resource hacks, but information hacks. Luckily, I have a lot of faith in Frost Giant, so we're going to stick that one on the side for the time being. I think we're going to be fine there. If we ignore that, we say this is going to work properly, there are two potentially massive opportunities that are provided by offering more interesting game state information: Twitch extensions or stream overlays, and enhanced production assets. So let's talk about Twitch extension first, Twitch extensions first. Recently, Sunsfan and Buka, which are a developer and a caster in the Dota space, have made this excellent Dota 2 Tooltips Twitch extension that's available for public use. For those of you that are unfamiliar, it provides an extra UI in Twitch that allows viewers to click on different things, hero spells, heroes, items, etc., and learn about what they do, which is something massive for a game that, again, has 123 heroes, 208 items. Again, it's insanely complex. In the tournament version of this overlay, it also provides things like resource graphs, the ability to hit the proper drop downs that you want. So say, imagine that the observer has production up, but you really want to see unit count. You would be able to do that. And also, Dota has a really interesting AI-powered win rate predictor, which we don't have in StarCraft, but that might be kind of cool. And that drop down is available as well. In the context of RTS games, this would be like, again, having access to the unit tab, whenever you want, regardless of what the observer is showing. Done right, an extension like this would do an incredible job of easing potential new fans into both Stormgate the game and Stormgate the esport. The other opportunity in this category is stream overlays. Right now, some streamers have a little add-on that provided, I believe, SC2 replay stats that provides information about what happened in their previous game, whether they won or lost, what their APM was, the game time, maybe some time supply blocked, stuff like that. But exposing player-specific information expands possibilities. Now, of course, any sort of setup like this cannot provide information about opposing players, right? About who they're playing against. That is opening up a can of worms that we do not want to get into. But imagine watching Mario play Terran, and you're about 10 minutes into the game, and you want to see what's in the production tab. Now, of course, the UI does not have that if you are watching first-person view, but you want to see, okay, when does Mario get his Ghost Academy? Okay, that's cool. How many ghosts does he have at 15 minutes in? Is he going up to 12? Like, this is really interesting information that really add to the viewing experience. Or if we want to go on the memeier side of things, imagine a pop-up that, I don't know, plays a funky sound when the streamer loses more than 1,000 resources in a fight. Yes, that is not the most esportsy thing, but it provides a lot of interactivity with the stream and certainly can be memed upon. And I know certain streamers would absolutely love it. Now, maybe it feeds into the tilt a little bit, but also, again, significant interaction with Twitch, which I think is important. On the other side, a game observer in lobby would have access to 100% of the information for both players, as they would be in the lobby, and that doesn't really create competitive integrity concerns. This partly ties into powering the Twitch extension I was talking about, but really it does provide for so much more. Again, I'm going to pull from Dota. I'm going to keep pulling from Dota. They have a tooltip setup that enables little pop-ups to happen from you or users in the lobby to push up little pop-ups during game time. So, for example, Dark played a ZVT versus Beyond the other day, where he went a really quick third base and he did not get a single gas until about 4 minutes and 10 seconds into the game. And that's insanely late. That is insanely greedy. And so imagine here, if I'm casting this game, or we're casting this game in a tournament setup, I don't know, some sort of massive Stormgate event, and the casters are talking about, wow, how much of a deviation from this build is, and then you get the little pop-up that says, Dark took his gases later than 86%. Of Zerg games on this map, or Zerg games in ZVT, something like that. That's a really interesting stat, and that is something that really is only possible if A, that information is provided in real time, and B, all the other information is provided in real time. So the observer can just plug that information into whatever the API, whatever their setup is, pull that down, and provide that information to viewers. Maybe other things too, but that type of integrated game state information with respect to the win compared to the big database of information really does add a lot of depth, I think, potentially to esports broadcasts. But of course, the final advantage is one for academics. StarCraft 2 is one of the better platforms for many types of AI and human-robot interaction research, but that topic deserves its own video, and we'll leave that one for another time. So what do you think? Is this worth the risk? Is this worth the effort? Am I just barking down the wrong tree? And as a PhD student, I just want all the information, and most people don't want that. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time for more Stormgate Some Days. Have a good one, folks.